everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drop Frames. We've got a guest this time. Finally, after what seems like a millennia, we've got a guest, a dancing guest. Luke, how's it going?
They do exist.
They do exist. It's that guy right there. It's Luke Crane. Luke, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. That intro is really intense. I felt like I was in a movie theater where you go on like the roller coaster ride through the popcorn.
Oh my God, I forgot about those. I didn't even realize that it is pretty much a mirror of that. Wow.
You channeled it.
It's actually just a slight spoiler for the next big Disney ride we're
Right.
going out with.
Yeah, we've got the ins at Disney, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of big time.
We just need a catchier song like that. Let's go out to the lobby.
That's true.
Yeah.
Go out to the lobby.
That's true. That's true.
Each of you is like a hot dog and a nacho and a soda or something.
Well, Zeke, if
I
only
know
we had
someone
a
who likes
platform.
hot dogs.
Oh, God damn it, Zeke. You cut my Kickstarter intro out. I was going to say we can kickstart the new song, but no, you're talking about hot dogs and Cohh's fascination with them. Fascination, love, maybe both, maybe a little bit of
Addiction.
both. Addiction. Those are all true terms.
Yeah.
Cohh, what episode are we on, by the way?
8.
Okay, the 8th episode.
This whole like 1 week increment by a single number thing is harder than the
It's hard, man. I think 214. I don't know, something like that. We're on an episode. We don't really keep track around here. But enough of all that nonsense. Luke, we only have you for about an hour, so I want to get down into we want to get learnt about Kickstarter. I think Kickstarter's kind of jumped into the world of gaming, and it's become this thing where it's different for a bunch of people. Some people actively, like Cohh, he actively seeks out Kickstarters to find and back, I think, on like a daily basis. Where someone like me and Zeke kind of catch the highlights, right? Like we're looking for the next big one, so to speak, or really whatever Cohh tells us about. But before we get to all that, let's talk about you and how you got started with Kickstarter. So how'd you find yourself as I was calling you the head of games at Kickstarter, but I don't think that title's appropriate anymore, right? It's bigger than that. What would you say
Bigger
your title
head.
is? Okay.
It's a bigger head. The head of games title referred just to the size of my corpus. Like, yeah, corpus, whatever.
Dude, listen, us big melon brothers got to stick together, dude.
That's right? Got to find a hat that does the justice. So yeah, I got started back in 2012. I really just crit rolled. I just got like that lucky. It was like, hey, Kickstarter's hiring. I'll apply. Like, sure. And I did the classic like startup application. I didn't realize what I was doing, but let's just say that this is a common thing that folks do when they see like a cool startup that they like, and that they write a letter that says, hey, I think what you're doing is great. And, my friends are using your platform. I would love to be a part of it. I'll do anything. I could do product stuff, or I'll even like come in and sweep the floors or something. Ha ha ha. Those letters never go well. Don't do that, everybody. They totally took my letter and they were like, no. But as they were disintegrating my letter, and they do have a disintegrator here. That was one of the first Kickstarter projects. Little known fact, disintegrator. As they were disintegrating my letter, what's it? You backed it? Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. RT, early adopters, right here. That's what I like. Actually, one of the operations ladies at the time saw that I had a lot of experience in games and passed it on to the head of community, and was like, "This guy's not a fit for product stuff, but maybe you want to talk to him for games." And so this woman, Cindy Au, sent me like a text or a tweet at PAX being like, hey, you want to get coffee? We were in PAX in Seattle. And I was like, yes. And so we had this like really awesome meeting. I didn't realize how quintessentially like Cindy this meeting was. She has the most amazing poker face. So we had this meeting where I'm like running between like talks or whatever. And so we had this chat, but I have no idea what it's about. Is it a job interview? Is it like a get to know you? Is it whatever? Like, I don't know. She just is like super cool through the whole thing, asking me some really good questions about games and what I do and all this stuff. But I have no idea like what's actually going on. But yeah, a few weeks later they brought me in, and like, do you I don't know if you remember the movie Gremlins.
Oh yeah.
At the,
Oh, yeah.
so
We're all
the dad,
children of the 80s.
okay, so the dad in Gremlins is an inventor. I'd forgotten this till like I kind of relived this moment. Right, and I think like at the beginning of Gremlins, he like goes to the like, you know, stodgy corporate guy, and you know, and he's like showing him his inventions, and they're all like failing, and he's like, you know, a smokeless ashtray, and you know, it's like, so that was my interview at Kickstarter. I just brought in all my janky games, and I felt like the dad in Gremlins, being like, you know, a smokeless mouse guard, and so I got the job, obviously. But one of the strengths was that one of the reasons they took me was not only am I a weirdo, but I have experience making games, experience like, you know, with the creative process itself. Like, you know, I had made quite a few games up to that point, but also I had experience in other fields. Like I've worked in film, for example, you know, in print production, and you know, that I'm a fan of music, and so they liked the fact that, like, yeah, I had this like kind of obsession with games, but I also could see the beauty in other creative mediums, and like that's what they felt like was a good match for Kickstarter. And so then basically they told me like, we're hiring you for games. And then I, like, for the first 2 years, I like it was like classic startup. Like I was like, okay, I kind of
did everything.
Okay, yeah, I did everything, right? I think I got this games thing handled as far as you need to handle. I could do more. Oh, okay, but music, fashion, film, okay, sure. But that's great, because I really do. Yep.
Real quick, how long ago was this? How many years ago was this meeting?
2012. I got hired September 25th, 2012.
Okay.
Yeah,
almost 8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, a lifetime ago, many lifetimes ago, really. And as you know, as you noted, JP, my title recently changed, and so I'm no longer in charge of the games category. Well, my baby. My second in command, Anya Combs, is going to take over leadership in the games category, because I am now the evil mastermind overseeing all of the creative categories. So all of the outreach,
Oh wow,
and like the creator relations and whatnot for all the creative categories. So we have a bunch of teams. We have a publishing team and film team and a design and technology team, games team, arts team, right? We have a lot of different teams here at Kickstarter that, you know, do creator outreach. So now I'm the puppet master for all those teams.
You mentioned you created a bunch of games yourself. So a bunch of people in chat were asking. I kind of just glossed over this because I know you through the tabletop world and the games that you've created there. But if you can kind of just like list off the myriad of games that you have contributed to the tabletop space so that people are aware, because I'm sure a lot of people, at least in my chat, have played tabletop RPGs all the time. So they've probably played one of your games, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm this like, I'm definitely, even in the tabletop world, I went from like hot independent game designer to like grumpy grognard cult leader. Like
that seems like that's how that path goes, I think.
Pretty natural evolution, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I skipped like rich rock star. Like I skipped that part in the middle, right? So I designed a very weird role-playing game called The Burning Wheel, which is a fantasy system with dwarves and elves and orcs and stuff like that. And then, so I designed Burning Wheel, a game that's out of print right now, a sci-fi version of Burning Wheel called Burning Empires. Mouse Guard, Free Market was another kind of utopian sci-fi game with Jared Sorensen. Mouse Guard, obviously, RPG based on Burning Wheel, simplified, did with David Peterson based on his comics. It was really fun. Also, Burning Empires is another comics collaboration with Christopher Moeller. Yeah, what's up?
I was going to ask you that. I wasn't sure which came first. The in Mouse Guard was the comic or the game. But you answered that for me. So.
Yeah. The comic was still pretty new at the time. It was maybe 9 issues deep when we worked it out. So there's one of my quirks though is like, so working in these like collaborations and partnerships is that they give you a summary of everything that's going to happen, just a written text summary. So everyone who worked on Game of Thrones, right, at a certain level, just got a summary of like everything that said, up to the point of like, and then the dragon takes the body away and flies away, right? Like just as a brrr. And so I refuse to read them. Like they give them to me and I'm like, no, I'm not going to read it. Like, I don't want to, no spoilers. And they think I'm crazy, but I'm like, no, I've got everything I need here, like in the like printed comics. I'll have some questions about like, how do mice make cheese? But like, aside from that, I just prefer to like go with what's there on the table. But yeah, I did. So anyway, I did Torchbearer with Tor Illustrated 2 and Inheritance. I did this crazy LARP called Inheritance, which was really fun. And then my most recent game, which I'm really proud of, is called Miseries and Misfortunes. And it's based on basic D&D. It's so utterly bonkers and it works and I love it. Basically, I wanted to have muskets and pikes in a dungeon, and I went on this crazy 6-year research hole to figure out how to do this. So it's 1648 France with basic D&D rules, but then all of the Burning Wheel affordances on top of it with like social combat, like a wealth system, a mitigation system. Like in order to like get a reroll in this game, you spend years of your life.
Jesus. Okay. All right.
1648 France. It's so fun. It is so ridiculously fun. I can't believe it worked. But it's also, I admit, this is a very small box of people that want to play this game with me.
Yeah, it's you and Adam, basically. You and Adam Cohh.
Yes.
I think are in that box. Yeah.
Yes. There's room for like one more person in that box.
Exactly. Well, let's jump back to Kickstarter. I think, we were kind of talking about at the beginning and prior to the show, Kickstarter has kind of taken this, I don't know, mantle maybe in the gaming space of like, well, I don't have the funds for it. Let's go figure out if we can kickstart it. Let's see if we can get it going over there. And I feel like at the start, that was definitely true. But nowadays, you have to have, I feel like a Kickstarter is only successful when there's like a monumental push behind it. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong with this. When it comes from like a giant fan base, like, do you think it has to be as, I guess, commercialized as I envision it to be? Or are there smaller success stories that we really just don't hear about that often?
Oh yeah, the latter. Of course, it's just like classic kind of news cycle bias. Like if you're not in the mix, frequently, then you're only hearing about the highlights, right? You're only hearing about like Wonderful 101 or Pathfinder or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they bubble up, right? They bubble out of the like the communities that are close to Kickstarter, and they bubble into the kind of the outer sphere, as it were. So that makes sense. But no. There's thousands and thousands of projects that are funding every year that are not big blockbusters. And that's actually one of the things that I am really reassured about in the games category is that there's actually a really broad base. It's not a hit-driven category. It seems like it is, right? It seems just like, oh yeah, big thing here, you got to be a big thing here. You got to do this to make $1 million. Maybe, but really, there's people raising like $20,000 pretty easily, or $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, right? You just don't hear about because they're appealing to a small community. And then they're, taking those games and making them, delivering them. And there's like this beautiful, I call it this beautiful tidal pool of creatures, of games, all these colorful, bright, shiny games that are just like, kind of hiding in plain sight on Kickstarter.
What do you think is the hardest? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually have an alarm on my phone for the 10th, 20th, and last day of the month. And it's basically just an alarm that says, check Kickstarter. And I have a little Kickstarter app on my phone, and I just go to the video game section and basically just scroll through everything available. And kind of go about what you said at the beginning. The amount of games that have lower goals and then in their last week, like hit those goals is huge. Like you'd also be really surprised. A lot of games you see on Twitch, you'd never even know had successful Kickstarters, but like they'll have, like 20, 40, 60K Kickstarters. And some of them blow up at the end and you hear about them, but a lot of them you don't. Like this big game that's going around right now, Stone Shard, that I've recently been playing. that was a Kickstarter game. I actually backed it and forgot about it. So I got like the update email. It was like, oh, awesome. Yeah, I remember this now. So, and there's tons and tons of little games like that. But what's really cool, and what I recommend people on my channel do all the time, is if you ever pick like a day or two a month to go through the Kickstarter stuff, you can get some not only really good deals on games, but you can kind of get like a lot of extra stuff by doing like these low tier things on ideas that may blow up down the road. But yeah, there's actually a lot of successes on Kickstarter that people don't even know are on Kickstarter.
Well, a lot of times I'll be playing a game and I'll jump into the game and I'll go to like a wall and there's like a wall full of graffiti names and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, these are the backers.
Yeah.
These are the Kickstarter backers. They're graffitied on the wall. That has to be what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a dirty secret. Adam,
I'll be right back. My dog's howling.
Okay, go ahead, go.
Okay. Amazing. Adam makes me reprint his backer list for the original Dungeon World Kickstarter in every printing. Like it's still there. Yeah, every printing of the book, we print the full backer list.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. I mean, I'm sure that's a bunch of extra pages that you're not too happy about, but you have to.
Yeah, Adam's killing trees. I just want to say that. He's killing trees.
Well, Adam's killing a lot of things. We just don't talk about it. All those human sacrifices. It's bad for business. So you can't.
Yeah, that's what this is all about. The shtick. It's real. Be careful, people. Yeah. It's real.
It is. It is indeed.
Well, if you ever role play with him, he doesn't just kill trees. He kills dreams.
He kills a lot of things. It's true.
Kills hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if you have this stat handy, but you might be able to kind of talk around it. What in the myriad of different categories on Kickstarter, is there one that's like more successful than others? Like, is the games category more successful than like hardware or tools, or which one's the most successful? And also the counterpart, which one's the least successful?
Oh, well, let's keep it positive.
Okay.
But we could talk about the range in games. The games category has raised the most money to date on Kickstarter of all the categories. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know where it is in terms of project. I think it's actually also overtaking like film and music in terms of like projects and backers. Basically, you got to understand there's just a ton, as you would expect, but there really is just an ocean of like small music projects and small film projects that are going all the time. And so, and that started very early. People understood that, the opportunity there in film and music very early. So games, started off very more modest in pace in terms of like people funding these projects. But now there's like 500 projects live in every month. It's pretty blistering. So it's the most funded overall. The success rate though for the category, I think is somewhere actually it's worth breaking it down. So the success rate in the category, meaning like projects that cross their funding goal, in tabletop games, it's better than 50%. It's like actually edging up to 60% in tabletop games. It's wild, right? So like flip a coin and then flip it a few more times, like flip it 10 times, right?
Now, is it because their goals are lower, like comparatively, or does that even factor in?
No. Yeah, maybe early on the goal differential, but no, not anymore. The goals are pretty ambitious in tabletop games now. But people are setting goals of like between $20,000 and $50,000, which is a reasonable amount of money to ask for in games on Kickstarter. No, the community for tabletop games on Kickstarter is just incredible. Like both on the creator side and the backer side.
That tracks.
Backers know, like as JP was saying, like backers know that they can come and pledge and like get this or was it Cohh was saying that? Actually, Cohh was saying that, yeah. So yeah, pledge and get tons of cool stuff that they might not be able to get in any other way. So they're excited about that. They also feel like they're getting a good value, of course. Though I'll tell you, I've done some informal polling. Most people say that they're backing projects though to support the idea or the creator. So there's also that. There's those good feels, and then backed up with and I get a lot of stuff. Win. but just the community in tabletop games is just something that's unique. Like it's just wild. Like video games, on the other hand, still has a really strong community. Like the average number of like projects backed in the video games community is 2, which is higher than the site-wide average. Like the site-wide average, it's like 1.x, right? So one backer comes onto the site, and most backers back 1, but then there's a pretty hefty amount that maybe back another one. In games, like in tabletop or video games rather, most backers back 2 projects. In tabletop games, most backers back 4 projects. So Jeez. it's a really active community, and they're also willing to put down money for high quality games. Like the backers, like I do it too. Like I'm one of them. I'm one of you. But like putting down like $100 or or $150 for a game is not out of the question. So it's just like it's a crazy unique world. It's wonderful.
Now, for me, I think the Kickstarter always that we kind of talked about how it has like these monolithic Kickstarters that get announced. You mentioned the Wonderful 101 most recently, and then the Pathfinder one most recently as well. I want to talk about one in particular, and you probably might not be able to speak about it due to contracts that were signed, etc. What happens when a thing like Shenmue comes to you and they're like, do you know ahead of time that they're announcing this at an E3? Do they talk to you guys about that type of stuff? And if so, like, how do you prep for something like that as a website? Do you just, sit there and put nails and make sure the servers aren't going to go anywhere when that announcement goes live? Or what does that look like internally for you guys?
Yeah. I worked with the Shenmue team. I was working at Kickstarter during that period, and I specifically fielded the calls from the Shenmue team. I worked very closely with them. So yeah, I was right there. They were pretty well handled. They had a pretty good group of advisors, both like localization. They're kind of these teams of like localization experts that operate in Japan that help creators like launch these Kickstarter projects. So they had a really good set of advisors there, and they had advisors stateside as well. So they're very well set up. I can tell you that it was a real need. Like that, without the Kickstarter, Shenmue wouldn't have been made. I can tell you that. I'm telling you, everybody. Like, take down the conspiracy theories.
Right, it's something that happens. Like,
yeah. Right. People think like, oh, Sony's just fucking Sony, and like, okay, sure, yeah. I'm here for that, but I was there on these calls, and like it was very clear that this team needed to validate their crazy idea of doing another Shenmue game. So, which is cool. That's a good use for Kickstarter, is saying, hey, I'm this creator that you know from these other things. I want to do this new crazy thing with you all directly with my fans. What do you think? And the fans react. Like, trust me, there are plenty of times when personalities from the games industry come onto Kickstarter and pitch an idea like this, and it doesn't go. Like, it doesn't fund at all.
Right.
So like it's a very worthwhile use case. So yeah, I was on the call, and yeah, they told me that they were announcing on stage, and I don't know, I thought it was great. Yeah. I was like, oh, cool. And yeah, I definitely went to the engineers, and I was like, so this is going to happen, and you may not know exactly what. Some of the engineers are pretty nerdy or whatever, so they knew what this meant. And yeah, we spun up servers. Like
I bet, yeah.
We called Jeff Bezos, and we're like, Jeff, get the like, hot platter spinning.
We've all got Jeff on our speed dial.
Get his
right here.
private number whenever you get Twitch partnership.
Yeah, you get his private number on Twitch.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. I think that was probably the one that I like. You tell me, is that the most like public Kickstarter in the games section that you can remember? Or is there one that's even bigger than that I'm just completely forgetting about in terms of like initial like push for Kickstarter and kind of promotional tool for Kickstarter as well, to say like, hey, we handle a bunch of small things, but we also handle like ginormous beasts like Shenmue and Sony announcing on stage at an E3.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I never measured apples to apples here, because there are these different like slices of eras of Kickstarter, and like they kind of each have this like, these.
I'm forgetting Star Citizen. Star Citizen was a thing, wasn't it?
Star Citizen was a Kickstarter project, yeah. But Star Citizen, that's the thing, is Star Citizen was a modest success in terms of like the overall arc of Kickstarter projects on Kickstarter. Obviously, Star Citizen has gone on to be something else.
Right. Yeah.
Now, right?
Yeah.
It is, Star Citizen is very much its own thing. I think it raised like $2 million on Kickstarter or something, which again is a pretty modest success. But like it's hard. Like Shenmue, yeah, probably in terms of like the like continued like the hype then, and then just the drama, the constant drama of Shenmue has sustained itself pretty well over the years. But Tim Schafer's Double Fine Adventure, like pretty much was was the first big one, and that really rang a bell. That resonated for years in terms of like setting the tone for the narrative of this beloved industry professional wants to strike out on his own and try to make something directly with the fans. And like that was really, really powerful and inspired a lot of other people to follow that both as a backer and a creator.
Yeah.
But even though that didn't make the most money, it didn't, it wasn't announced, on all these things. It didn't have a partnership lined up or whatever. It's still like, in terms of impact, it was huge.
Yeah. Zeke?
I had a question because I'm like just have a very surface level not understanding, but knowledge of Kickstarter and how it works and stuff. So I might ask some like pretty late questions. But I want to know does Kickstarter have is it just on the creator to do like everything, or does Kickstarter have anything that is like helps with creator side stuff, like getting the word out, like any sort of publicity, any sort of like links to anything, or you'll hook them up with something or anything like that, or is it just a fundraising site and that's it?
Oh yeah. If you want to be a creator, we have this crazy creator boot camp. It's like Tough Mudder, but for creators. They have to crawl through piles of money to like get to the other side. And
you should film that shit, because man, some game devs are fucking thirsty for money. Like they'll do anything. It's like, listen, I've been working on this game for 8 years. I'll eat the barbed wire. You want to eat the barbed wire? I'll eat it.
Oh my god.
Actually my team, right? That's the we call them the outreach folks at Kickstarter, but there are, for most of the categories on the site, we have an like internal expert who's like someone who's a creator themselves, who we brought in to like interface with creators and help guide them to success on the platform, because it's super scary and it can be weird to like have to like be like, I'm making a game. Oh my god, now I'm in public for 30 days having to do this crazy dance and ask people for money. So yeah, it can be super stressful. So we have a team of people here who like have specialized knowledge to try to help people through that. Obviously we have some like more generalized like resources on the site about like setting up a project or like just kind of like basic things that you should expect. But I like talking to creators about what they're doing. I like that one-on-one contact. I really like, sometimes I call my job like, shaking hands and kissing babies. Like, I feel like that. I'm just like, yeah, how you doing? Yeah. Oh, that's it. This is your child. Oh yes. What a lovely child that you have here. That's half made and really not working, but yes. Good luck. Like,
I wouldn't kiss those babies, Luke. I'd be very careful about kissing this.
The baby's got one arm and half a head, but let me come here, baby.
What is, man, people on this 2 days in a row, we've talked about weird fucked up babies, and I don't understand. That's a whole other story for a different day. But anyway.
I triggered you. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Oh god.
I wanted to ask you, I had like a personal question, because I always love these kind of stories. Do you have a memory of like, I wrote down the best little campaign that could, like, that's what I wrote down. Like, was there one that you're like, you're really rooting for, and then it just like blew up and it was like unknown until like it got super big and you were really excited to see it, blossom?
Oh yeah. Now I want to like go into my computer. There's so many of them. I've forgot them all. Like,
It's been 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years company. That'll happen.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, I found it. Okay. Google's amazing. 3089. Yeah. So this is a video game. So if you search 3089 action RPG, you will find a futuristic 3D open world action role-playing game with randomly generated terrain, items, customizable weapons, and more. I approved this project. I saw it through, right? Kid raised $4,500. The creator is Fruit, spelled with PHR00T.
Yep.
And I don't know what it was about this project, but I was just like, yeah, you go get them. Like, I just loved it. But that's like, there's so many of these little ones that I see where I'm just like, yes, do it.
Was he only asking for $1,000?
I know, it's insane.
His pledge goal was 1,000. Yeah.
Insane. Yeah.
Dude, some people are just trying to get like groceries and keep the light on for a couple months so they can finish their game. Like there are really low Kickstarter goals sometimes, and that's all it takes for them to get it out.
And that's actually a good question for you, Luke. Like when it comes to, people that are potentially watching us or anything like that want to like get something kickstarted, what is the bare minimum that they have to be able to publish something on Kickstarter or publish something to be kickstarted? Is it like an idea? Is it a proof of concept? Like what? But I guess 2 questions. What is the bare minimum? And 2, what is the preferred thing that you would recommend? Like a prototype? Where should they begin with that?
Yeah, it depends on what you consider success, right? Like was Fruit happy with, raising $4,500 on Kickstarter? It certainly, seems like it. So yeah, it really just depends. Like if you have a sketchy idea and you're comfortable with raising a small amount of money from a small amount of people, then yeah, this has always been the case on Kickstarter, right? People seem to think that like there's this weird myth that like, oh, Kickstarter's not for ideas anymore. No, it totally is. It's just that Kickstarter has grown as a platform. So you see these more sophisticated, more mature, more professional projects, and they look really good. They look sometimes even intimidating, but the platform still thrives on all these small projects. It's just that like what used to be like, oh my God, you can just raise $4,000 for an idea. Like that was mind blowing in like 2009 or 2010. Now it's like, yeah, of course. Like that's cool. Right. And now we're like, oh, you can raise $500,000 for this crazy app integrated miniatures game with, that animates the mini. Like, yeah, yes, of course you can. So yeah, the platform has just grown. So these stories are still possible. So it really depends on where you want to set your success. If you are going for the jackpot, right, then you have to do your homework. You've got to have some kind of gameplay to show, either whether it's digital or whether it's physical. You have to have some kind of prototype or something where people can get an idea of what they're getting when they get this game, right? You have to be able to answer questions about gameplay. The Kickstarter backers, these are like the most sophisticated games players out there because they're not just into it for like playing the games. They're into it to support the making of games. So they know a thing or two, most of them. Or they, or they think they do. And they probably, as I said, like, in games, most people have backed more than one project. So like these people, like if you're a first time creator, a lot of your backers might be more experienced with Kickstarter than you are. So if you're going to come to the platform thinking I'm going to raise $1 million, something like that, you've got to be prepared to talk to this community in a way that they're accustomed to, in a way that's going to satisfy their questions, which I think is totally legit. But if your goals are more modest, like if you're like, I just want to make an RPG, you could just have like a piece of cover art, a write-up, and like maybe a sketch of a character sheet and raise $2,000 or something, or $5,000 based on the strength of that. And that's fine. Yeah. I love that the platform it like has this range to it, the range of possibilities.
Yeah.
Oh, and something I've noticed in the pretty good amount of time that I've been following Kickstarter products, if you have an idea, if you have a game, if you really have anything, if you want to take how much you want to earn and add anywhere between $10,000 and $50,000 to it, put in a lot of boobs and butts.
Sex sells still on Kickstarter?
Well, I'm not going to look at your backing history, Cohh.
Oh no, we'll do that's the second
No, I
segment.
will
We're
say,
just gonna look at Cohh's backing history.
It's pretty wild to me. Like I'll be every time I cruise through the Kickstarter stuff. Like it's very well. I was about to say surprising, but really it's not. Like a lot of these NSFW games do really well, and like visual novels and like all sorts of random stuff. But like it's wild. A lot of times you'll see like a basic skeletal idea and process be like 200% of its goal because like they have some really good artwork.
I remember there was that
whatever works, man. Like
there was that Mass Effect game that had like some pretty involved sex stuff in it a while back that I think did extremely well. I forget the name of that. I don't know if you remember that one off the top of your head, Luke.
I remember, the Alien one, with like the 3D rendering and everything.
I remember.
We actually talked about it on the show.
Yeah. I remember that did super well. And it was pretty surprising to people for sure.
That's also part of the like platformness of Kickstarter, which is another thing I really like. It's that it's a fairly open platform for creative projects. We have a box that we draw, but within that box, we don't gatekeep or curate.
Right.
We might bring some projects to the surface that we really believe in, but we still allow these other projects onto the platform because like it's so important for us not to dictate the way of the creative community or what the community wants, but it's important for us to be open to these things that we didn't think of. And this allows creators to take risks, right? To put content in their games that maybe we wouldn't, but like that their community is really into. And as long as that falls within certain parameters, like great, like go for it. Like teach us what the community is about. Like no one ever predicted when Kickstarter started that it was going to be such a huge effect on miniatures in games. Like that the platform itself was gonna like just start changing the way people made games. And because of the way miniatures work on Kickstarter. No one could have predicted that, but it's great that that the community kind of identified that this is the thing we want. Let's keep doing this. Early on, one of the early successes on Kickstarter, again, that like was not an initial use case, but custom playing cards. The custom playing card community adopted Kickstarter very, very early and started doing all these like crazy, beautiful decks of cards. To the point where I think that they actually tapped out their whole community. There were so many custom playing card decks that the collectors of custom playing card decks just were like, I can't, and I don't have any more room in my house.
I guess that makes sense. Zeke, I know you had a question.
I did. I kind of want to know, like, because you touched on it a little bit, but I want to know what the approval process for like Kickstarter is like, because they have to get approved. This is something I was like pretty sure was the case, but I wasn't absolutely 100% positive that you had to get approved and you have to go through a process. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah. We have some basic standards. So we're not a completely open funding platform like some of the others out there. We call ourselves like a creative funding platform. So we're looking for creative projects, and we're a pretty broad definition of that. We put them into 15 categories like games, film, art, dance, design, technology, et cetera. I'm sorry for all the categories I didn't mention.
I'll
apologizing. But so we draw a pretty big box, and then we also say like it's against our rules to raise funds for charity, and we want projects to be like honest and clearly presented. So we have these rules, but then there's a very light approval process behind that where you have to because there's gonna be an exchange of money, so we have to verify an identity. We got to verify a bank account, like boring stuff, really super boring, really stressful stuff. But like we're going to be charging people's credit cards on your behalf, so like it's fair game. And then the team also does a review, like a very brief content review to make sure that it's within our rules. And so yeah, that it's a creative project, and also that like you're not selling guns or alcohol or whatever, you know, in your rewards.
Yeah.
That you're also like that you're offering something new. That's one of our criteria, is that we don't want people selling back stock on the site. So like, you know, so we want you to be coming to the site with like a new creative idea. But yeah, but then within that, like, so that's a very light approval process. It sometimes can go very quickly. It sometimes can be, you know, like near instantaneous. Sometimes it takes a couple of days as like the team, you know, has some questions or goes back and forth with you. But then that's it. Then you can go live and see where the winds of fate take you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like, I'm guessing you probably do, but do you ever get like ridiculous grifts? Like scam kind of people like, this is my idea, put me on Kickstarter. Like, if you do, can you tell me like any of the, like, is there like a ridiculous one you can think of?
Yeah. Sadly, there are some bad actors out in the world who see the opportunity. They see, oh, all I got to do is put up a video and like, you know, and ask people for some money. And we have a trust and safety team here that is really incredible and like is like very, very good at finding signals of, you know, of insincere projects or, you know, other weird stuff that goes on on the internet and taking those down. We also have a really incredible community. The design and tech community is actually really good at this, at like sussing out like ridiculous claims on a project and saying like, like, and signaling to us saying, I don't think it's possible to make what they're saying they want to make, which is super cool. Yeah, people can report projects, but back in the day though, we had this big debate about perpetual motion machines. People would routinely launch perpetual motion machine projects on Kickstarter. And
Okay.
So what do you do? What do we do as a platform? Do we say, no, not physically possible, please read laws of thermodynamics, see you later, like right to the disintegrator, right? Because don't forget the disintegrator.
Right.
But that, like, my standpoint, and I think the standpoint that we took at the time was, but who are we to judge?
Right. Well, I mean, I would view that as something like the pet rock. Like, you kind of, if you have half a brain, you kind of know what you're getting.
Right. No, the problem, like, this is the thing that we would watch for, is that people were in on the joke, or that it didn't get out of hand, right? Where people were really selling snake oil. Like, you know, there were early days, there was the Death Star project and the X-Wing project and whatnot. And, you know, we talked like, right. And we talked about this, like, what's okay for a joke project. And we let some of these through, and we're like, because people were in on the joke, it was funny, it was a good celebration. But then you get like the follow-on projects where, like, you know, people just try to repeat the stunt over and over again. And we just stepped in at like, you know, after like the third one, we're like, nope, no more, we're done. No more joke projects. Right? Like, because one, the joke gets old, and two, it gets weird and shady. Then, like, having people come in and try to like cash in on a joke project by doing an imitation joke project, that's when we're like, okay, no, this isn't working. But yeah, the perpetual motion machines, we would like, I don't think they funded, but also, like, I don't know, like, I want people to be able to take risks on the Kickstarter platform to break the laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. No,
what's going to happen
story.
when that one guy gets it right?
Yeah.
He's like, check this thing out. Think. And like 4 years later, it's still going. And it's like, that was Kickstarted. Yeah.
We did it.
yeah, exactly. And we now power for everyone all over the globe. Like, we did it, everybody. Sure. I'm in.
Yeah. We only have you for a couple more minutes. I do kind of want to have you walk us through, for people that are, you know, like myself, where they've heard of the big projects on Kickstarter, but then they get just directly linked to those Kickstarter pages.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the front page. Like, where should I begin? If I just want to like look at stuff, where do I go? What's the best the use case here?
So we're constantly experimenting with the front page, right? We're always like tweaking, A/B testing and whatnot. So I'm sorry, I'm looking down. I'm looking at the front page with you.
Oh, that's
so
fine.
Right. So the top is you can see our team there is actually trying to build a recommendations engine for you at the top with like what creative ideas speak with you. So you can like play a little game
Are
with
you
the
saying I
site
like
there.
music for cats? Is that what you're saying, Luke?
I don't.
Are you
I don't
listening to my
know.
Alexa? Huh? Are you listening in on my fucking private conversations, Luke? All right.
I do
Cats
have-
demand
it's not-
music, but they need it. They're like humans.
I'm with
Like
you.
water for a
I
plant.
agree. I agree. Yeah. But also, Uncle Jeff, and I talk about music for cats all the time. So anyway, it's out. I'm just saying it's out there.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
So you can like play around with the recommendation engine up here, and then it'll ask you to like create an account and whatnot. This is just a way for us to try to like engage with users and to see to see if we can start recommending projects that you like, because there's a lot of projects on the site at any one time.
I bet
Thousands of projects live. The other side, look at you. Go.
I want to see what it comes up. I'm trying to pick like complete oddball stuff. Here we go. I like romantic.
Oh, you got to read those. You got to read those out loud before you answer so we can see them.
Oh, a comedy about a woman who's genetically unlucky in love is what appeals to me. But what specifically appeals to me is the romantic comedy. I like rom-coms.
Okay.
One more creative idea.
Vegan cookbook.
I got to go for the vegan cookbook because that's just another side of the spectrum. It's another out there. I got to see what it comes up with this.
I got that, but it really didn't taste that good. I'm surprised.
I like cookbooks. What's next?
Okay.
All right, here we go. It's the engine is working.
I love this.
Man, those 5 FPS. That's.
Here we go.
So you got a comics anthology, it looks like.
Yeah.
You got
Some
tea
pots.
recipes, Ayurvedic tea, which is probably pretty good.
So, I guess it just now occurred to me that there is a massive amount of just things on this platform that I had no idea existed. I guess is the result of this.
Dude, I backed a Roomba that works like a mop.
Right. So what I
then a cast iron pan that never sticks. I'm sorry. There's so much cool stuff, man. It's awesome.
It is awesome. So what I really want is for me, like thinking about games, is I want you to come to the site and get inundated with cool games ideas. But really specifically, I want you to say like, oh, yes, I really want to support this game. I really want to back this project. This looks so cool, right? I want you to come as a games person. I want you to come to the site and be really excited and see like something that really speaks to you. And then I want this experience where you're like, whoa, there is so much other cool, weird stuff on here. Like I want to surprise and delight you with like the okay, you scratch the game's itch, but wow, this is so cool. Look at all this great stuff.
Kickstarter a lot of times is, for me, it's kind of like ordering something on Amazon. Like I'll get an email from Kickstarter and it'll be like, oh, that's right, I forgot I backed this.
Sure.
You'll get a package from Amazon going like, what the fuck? Oh, that's right, I ordered these steak knives.
Yeah,
dude.
Sure,
It's like a little mini Christmas present. It's awesome.
Do you do the thing where you get the package? You're like, what? I didn't. What is this? I didn't buy anything. What? I haven't. And then you open it up and you're like, oh yeah, I ordered this yesterday.
Yeah.
Like
I wanted this.
Absolutely.
The Sonic the Hedgehog kitchen mug. This has
Dude.
got to go fast.
I kid you not. I get a package from Brazil yesterday, and I was like, Brazil? Like, what the hell is this? And then they're like, oh, thank you for backing us on Kickstarter. And I was
There
like,
you go.
oh, cool. Okay, great. I got another shirt.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. Like, had all sorts of goodies in the box. It was great. Yeah, it was awesome.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, we've run your hour, Luke. But I feel like we could talk about Kickstarter stuff. We might have you back on in the future just to continue this discussion, because I think Kickstarter is super important, especially in the game space, but maybe just on the internet in general, because like we were just talking about, there's so much random stuff here that would never see the light of day and never find success or find people that are interested in those products that can, because of a place like Kickstarter. So
I'd be intrigued to go through our game of the list here, or game of the year lists, or games of the year list, to see how many of them like got their were funded by Kickstarter, like in by and large.
Oh yeah, there's
Like I know
a ton.
Outer Wilds was, and that was my game of the year.
Yeah, Outer Wilds was there. I'm trying to
Pathfinder
think.
Kingmaker, man, that's still like one of the biggest successes ever. And I'm so excited about Wrath of the Righteous. Just absolutely like, couldn't be happier with that, man.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fired up Darkest Dungeon the other night and was like roaming around my old campaign in there.
That's a fucking Kickstarter game. That's wild to think about.
Yep. Yeah. Super good.
Yeah. Crazy.
This was great. This was so much fun. Holy cats.
Yeah, thanks for
I didn't
coming
realize
on.
we had so much to talk about.
Thank you, man.
We let our guests do some shout outs and stuff, so feel free to shout out your own stuff if people want to check out Kickstarter, anything like that. We'll give you the full screen footage here. So whichever you want to say, feel free.
Look at me. That's what's up, TV Land? Yeah. So yeah, you can follow me on the internet at burning_Luke on Twitter. And you can, if you want to see my games, we're over at burningwheel.com for my crazy weird RPGs. If you want to talk to me about Kickstarter stuff, if you have a question about launching a project or backing a project, or you're excited about something or you're mad about something, totally cool. I get it. You can email myself and Anya at games@kickstarter.com.
Awesome stuff. I had forgotten Divinity Original Sin 2. That was a Kickstarter thing, wasn't it?
Yep, it was.
Wow.
And now they're making Baldur's Gate 3.
I know, it's kind of bonkers.
That's
Well, you were
fucking wild.
You were asking like what
Wasteland
was
2.
like the biggest Kickstarter game?
Yeah.
Like and I don't know if we got the answer or whatever, but would it be like Star Citizen?
Well, I mean, Star Citizen only raised $2 million on Kickstarter, but now is gonna. So yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Dude, so Star Citizen at 2 mil, Pathfinder has like what, 18 days left and is at 1.2. So it's going to be bigger than Star Citizen at the rate it's going.
Yeah.
Right, but Star Citizen has gone on to be this other thing, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, Star Citizen might be the biggest crowdfunded project ever. I think that's probably fair to say, but not biggest Kickstarter project. So
Yeah, because
Shenmue
was pretty big too, wasn't it? That was
about
like,
6 million for Shenmue. Yeah.
Shenmue like blew up. It was like 1 million in like 20 minutes or something absurd. I remember after that press conference, but yeah. Anyways, I don't want to keep you past your time, Luke. I know you're a busy man over there at Kickstarter, so we appreciate you coming on the show and chatting with us, and we'll definitely have you back in the future, man.
Love it. Thanks so much. This is really fun.
Yeah. Thanks
for coming, brother.
For coming on. We're
Thanks,
gonna
buddy.
take a quick break. We'll let Luke get out of here, and then we'll come back and do our deal and talk about games and all that stuff that we do on Drop Frame. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more. We'll see you guys then.